From the Bramble Jam Podcast Network studios, it's the Diss List with Bran and Dan. 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 Hello, boy.
Hi, everybody. Everybody's sitting.
Oh, Casey and the Moneymakers back there. Sit on down. The whole band's here.
It's great to be here today. Dan, it's a very exciting day for the Diss List.
It is.
Because one Antonio Cayonne is with us, everybody. Antonio Cayonne.
Star of the screen.
Antonio,
Cayonne.
how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, guys. Good to see you both. How you doing?
Doing amazing.
This is very exciting for us because the last time you were here, back when we did the show for Deck the Hallmark.
That's right.
You did naps.
Naps.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I'm excited to see what you come up with this time as far as ideas that are going to be relevant to everybody.
That's right.
Yep.
And not,
Wait, what?
not weird at all. Before we dive in, Dan, this is a very simple show.
Simple show. We all love lists. We need
love
more
lists.
of them.
We need more lists. And I think that was kind of the whole basis of the show.
So we bring on a guest to give us a list of something they're passionate about so we can then give our opinions and change it.
That's right.
That is basically how the show works. And so then you and I each get to create a list of our own. We get two replaces, two switch them ups. You'll figure that out later. We each present our list to the guest. They have to choose one of our two lists because we're big deals. And then whoever's list they choose wins the day.
That's exactly right. Antonio, does
Diss
that make
list.
sense to you?
Almost entirely not. Let's
Okay,
go.
great.
Yeah, I love it.
What list topic did you bring for us today?
Well, I know that I have the highest rated show that you guys have ever done with naps.
Yeah.
And I get emails
Yeah.
all the time
Yeah.
with people asking me, when are you going to do something nap adjacent? And I racked my brain and I didn't think I could top it. But I did decide this time around that we would do wedding proposals, but the caveat being the worst way to propose.
Boy.
And I think it bears mentioning, just so that we don't offend anybody,
Yeah.
that there are probably things on this list
That have happened in your life.
that you've done. And if you did, it's not your fault. The episode hadn't dropped
Yeah.
yet. And also there are going to be people who hear things on this list and they're like, no, I think that's a good thing. And you know, the
Well,
other
that's
side
the
of the
beauty of
coin
the
of the
list.
worst is the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Some people are going to be like, that's the best. And I'm going to be like, maybe you're the worst. And that's fine too.
This is your opinion, Antonio Cayonne,
Exactly.
star of the screen, Antonio Cayonne's opinion on the 10 worst ideas or ways to propose marriage.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what we're
And-
doing.
Now, did
And I
you
want to be transparent.
go ahead?
My wedding proposal is on the list.
Okay.
So it's
Very
not like
okay.
I'm not pulling punches here. This is an honest
Yeah.
show.
Well, that's what
Yeah.
I was going to ask. I was going to ask why this list, like what happened to you?
Then
that
your
made you
marriage
think-
is going great.
Yeah.
So this
Yeah,
it's not
going
like a
strong.
bad proposal means a bad
No,
marriage. So
No, they're not correlated in any way. And it's a funny story to tell. And it's, you know, while I was doing research, I got to hear some other people's stories. And I'll give you a tidbit of one that didn't make the list, but I think it's an honorable mention, that her fiance got down on one knee and said, do you take me to be your awfully wedded husband?
oh no.
As his proposal.
Oh no.
And she was like, what in Sam Hill are you talking about? Awfully wedded what? And he just thought it was funny wordplay. And that was dumb.
No,
Uh,
this is
you know,
real dumb.
And this gives you a little tidbit of like things on the list are going to be
What were the-
So
dumber
he
than that.
did that on purpose.
Oh yeah, he thought it was clever.
Oh no, he didn't say lawfully wrong. He did it on purpose.
He
Yikes.
said
and,
awfully.
and she said yes still?
Oh yeah, for some reason she said
Yeah.
yes.
All right, well,
Good. So
okay,
what were some things or maybe the criteria, or do you have any rhyme or reason to this, or you came up with 10, these are the 10?
You know, there's no playbook for how to propose.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of, there are some antiquated things that have been passed along and people just do them because they think they're supposed to do them. And then the internet happened and then people realized they like going viral, but they didn't have any talent. So then they wanted to do something that could make them go viral. And that became the playbook for wedding proposals. So when I started to think about this and research it, I just realized more people are getting it wrong than they're getting it right. And so my criteria is really just, is this moment insufferable for all of the people witnessing it? Yes or no? And if it's a yes, I think it's on the worst list.
Okay.
I love it.
All right.
I love it. Let's
Fair
kick
enough.
it off.
Yeah,
let's
let's
do
kick it off. What do you got? Number 10, worst proposal ideas.
Okay, this is a little bit of a gimme. I was a big fan of a TV show called New Girl, and I think that they nailed this in New Girl. It is the multi-phase proposal. Winston, one of the characters in New Girl, decides that he's going to take 52 steps or something like that. And it's 52 steps over 52 weeks, and each week is a different facet of the proposal. And when I watched the show, I was like, well, that's super dumb. And then I started researching it, and I realized that there's people who are actually doing this.
Yeah.
And I think the most common way that it shows up is somebody buying a ring, and then they kind of have an idea as to when they're going to propose, but they carry the ring around all the time.
Yeah.
And they take snapshots of themselves holding the ring while their partner is kind of facing the other direction.
Yeah.
Or like they'll wake up early and like put the ring, like the ring box on her hand open and take a photo of it while she's sleeping.
I think that's what's happening in this picture. It looks like
they're
holding
wild.
the person is sleeping, and then
exactly.
And I just saw an article about this. Somebody did this for like over a year. They would just like, take pictures of themselves holding the ring while they're
and they get other people involved in it, and they tell people about it. So my problem with this, the reason, and this is only at number 10, but the reason that I have this on the list is that at some point they're gonna find out. Right? Like at some point, all of these photos, and then that person has been made a fool for a period of time.
Yeah.
And depending on how many people they copy into it, it's just dumber and dumber and dumber.
But this also, like when you did your nap episode, the risk factor of this is kind of weirdly through the roof.
Yeah.
Like you're in no hurry to propose, but you also are continuing to take pictures where it could accidentally happen.
And what happens then? What happens if they find out by accident? The whole thing is blown. Is that funny? And like, I just don't. I have a hard time knowing. Look, I think that the goal of a wedding proposal is to get a yes. It's one step along the way.
Create a memorable moment, but also in my estimation, two types of people that are in a proposal situation that aren't just like in Vegas and the night got away from them. It's either we worked on this together, we've planned it together, we went ring shopping together. We know there's no surprise. And then there's a when are they going to propose? I can't believe they've not proposed yet. Surprise proposal. Like those are the only two.
Those are the only two.
In which of those situations is this a good idea? Because if you're trying to surprise them, you just waiting for a year just to be funny. And if they know about it, then this is even weirder. This is a bad proposal.
It's a bad proposal, and I think what gets me about it is it makes the other person the fool, right? You're not on equal footing. And so and I've got it at number 10 because I think that there's more boneheaded things. Like perhaps the worst that comes out of this is that your proposal goes sideways because she goes through your phone and sees a photo,
right,
and then demands a ring, and it's fine. I also think it bears mentioning while we go through this list that like one of the things that I'm considering is whether or not both people have an expectation that there's a proposal coming. And that speaks to what you just said, right? Like a lot of these proposals turn into something positive when the other person knows, look, we're in it together, we're in it to win it, we're going to be here at the finish line, this is going to be you and I in rocking chairs on the porch together, holding hands, old and gray, laughing about something. And then you can do an absurd proposal, I guess, and it becomes a story that you tell and tell and tell and tell and tell. But it's still pretty insufferable.
The one thing I will say about this proposal is that in my estimation of worst proposals, and the ones that I've kind of like, we try to do some research coming in of what we think should be on the list. I do think while I hate this proposal, and if you disagree, let me know, there is a world where you could do this right. You could do this and it wouldn't be bad, which does give it a leg up on some that I think should be on this list that I just
should never be done.
Personally think they never work.
I'm not here to trash your list right away, Antonio. I think my struggle with this one is that you could do this and the actual proposal itself could still be a traditional proposal. And then you're like, and guess what? Look at all these pictures that I've got. And it's like a funny little thing.
What were you doing the whole time?
There's a version of it that could end up well.
I see both sides. I see both sides.
With almost all of these, I think not with almost all of these. With the exception of like 5 of these, it could end up
we call that half.
Yeah.
But with half of these. But I mean, even though we're saying it could end up well or it could end up okay, I still don't know that makes it a good proposal.
Okay.
And 1 to 10 list, it's the least worst of the worst, but it's still pretty worst.
Yeah, it's still pretty worst.
Let's see. Let's see where we go from here. Let's go to number 9.
Okay, number 9 is a bit of a weird one. I'm going to call it the medical emergency. And I've seen, in my research, I've seen 3 different versions of this, and one of the versions kind of works. So let's start off with the one that doesn't work.
Okay.
A guy got himself admitted to the ER. With some sort of stomach issue. And so him and his wife had to get in an ambulance.
Oh my God.
There's a whole thing happening.
So expensive in America.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I didn't even take that into account.
Yeah.
This was like $100,000 proposal.
It's a bit.
There was no wedding afterwards. They had to go get married in the chapel of the church.
If this happened in your neck of the woods in Canada, then who cares? It's just free. Use of a valuable government resource.
This is just a Tuesday. Who cares? But so he goes in with some sort of stomach issue. In reading the article, I couldn't tell if it was a real stomach issue or if he faked it and the paramedics were in on it. But ride in an ambulance all the way to the hospital. Doctors come in. They're talking like needing to cut him open. And she's panicking. She's about to lose the love of her life.
Right.
And the doctor reaches in. And I guess like the vantage point is that he's covering the guy and places a ring in his hand. And then the doctor turns to her and says something. In my imagination, it's like, do you have any last words before he goes in for the surgery that he may not come out of? And she's crying and hysterical, and she goes to him, and then there's a ring.
You know what I would like for the doctor to say is to go, he's not going to make it another day without you. And that's what I'm
afraid we lost him. Yeah. His bachelorhood.
That's right.
I've never heard of this, Antonio.
It's bad.
And this might be one. This is
up there.
Terrible.
Okay, why is it 9 instead of top 5?
Here's the other side of it. A neonatal nurse who has like really given her all to being a neonatal nurse and it has been talking with her husband about wanting to deliver babies, catch babies, right? Like this beautiful, like bringing life into the world.
Sometimes you want to catch
babies.
Catching babies is a term that my doula taught me.
Unlike
she was like, I'm a baby catcher. And I was like, that sounds weird, but I'm going to start saying it now. And hopefully it just like
catching babies. Just out here catching babies.
One day I'm going to be on the diss list and I'm going to get to use this terminology.
That's right. Grind, don't stop. I'm out here catching babies.
That's why they say pop them out. You pop them out because as a catcher, you can't pop them out if it's not a catcher.
You can't pop without a catch.
That's right.
One term doesn't make sense without the other.
Catch babies.
So she wants to become a baby catcher. Yeah. And so he sets up a proposal. This is in downtown Manhattan, apparently. So there's a woman on a bench. She's seemingly 9 months pregnant. She's going into the labor. All these bystanders gather around and they're like, is there a doctor? Is there a doctor? And this neonatal nurse happens to be there. And she's like, I'm a nurse. I can catch that baby. So she gets in there and she's like, there's a video of this. They covered it on some news station. She's down on looking into, the portal and,
the portal.
And she stands up to say something to her husband and he's down on one knee behind her. And everyone's in on it, and they all clap. And I still think that's insane.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why it's a 9 and not like a 1 for me is that outside of the your hospitals cost money for some strange reason, no one's harmed in it. There's no actual like danger involved.
Aside from the person that actually needed an ambulance.
Yeah.
I don't think they actually did.
Well, in the neonatal one, there was no ambulance.
I'm just saying, like in the first one, there's only so many ambulances.
The first one, there's all kinds of people damaged. But the story you told...
I got an ambulance right outside my house.
There's one on every block.
The story you just told about Manhattan, the only person harmed is the anxiety, blood pressure of the person being proposed to, who has immediately gone into full...
she went into her purse and she pulled out rubber gloves,
so she was ready,
and she had a mask on.
Interesting.
And so when she turns and sees him, she rips the gloves off and throws them, kind of like upset for a second. And there's a camera crew there. So then and she's like, I thought I was going to catch a baby. And then so like, sure, she was still like, it was a gotcha moment. And there's pie on her face, but at least there wasn't a baby in her hands.
At least she wasn't catching babies.
At least there wasn't a baby on her face. I'll say this. I kind of love this.
Of course you do. Of course
part of why have you watched Nathan For You?
Yeah.
So there's one of my favorite Nathan For You episodes is there's a haunted house that wants to up traffic, and so Nathan Fielder comes in and he's like, I've got it. We're going to fake a medical emergency because nothing scares people more than death. And so they go in, someone touches you, we pull them aside, we tell them that they came in contact with a deadly disease. They bring them to an ambulance, they bring them to the hospital, and then they say,
we got you.
We got you. We got you on a house. And this reminds me of that. And for that reason, it's hard for me to be mad at this.
This is so bad. This is so bad.
You can't do this for, like, you can do it for haunted house. You can't do it for proposal.
Hey, I've got to take a split second and tell you that I got a chance to build a full-scale haunted house at this restaurant complex that I used to work at. And in it, I wanted to find a way. My goal wasn't to scare people. It was to make them not be able to sleep and be able to, like, rocking in the corner crying. And so I was like, I am going to create a ghost that only 2 people in the audience see. But in order to do that, I had to build a number of distractions in. And one of the distractions I did was I built an exorcism, which was totally theatrical and completely fake. And in it, I made somebody at the back of the audience have a seizure and pull one of the guests to the ground.
Good God.
And then the entire thing had to stop every single time as the person who was just there for the ride has to help the person with the seizure leave. And on their way out, they see a ghost. And I got them every time. And they were so scared. Anyways.
And then you got down on one knee.
Yeah. Every time I propose to a different person.
That's right. I love this one. It does deserve to be on this list.
It's got to be on this list.
I love it for how bad it is.
It's so bad.
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
That's wild.
The range is exciting.
Yes.
How good and how bad it can be.
That's right. All right, number 8.
Okay, this is a bit of a catch-all. I put it on the list because I think it's probably happening right now. It's happening every single moment of every day all around the world. It is the drunk proposal. And when I started researching this, I didn't have to go very far. I actually was able to have conversations with people that I knew who were like very ready to tell me that they were hammered when they proposed. And I have it at number 8. I actually don't know that I think it's that bad, but I do have a couple of like that bad stories. I don't think it's that bad because I feel like if there's a drunk proposal, to some extent, you've both already figured it out. And so you're drunk, everything's a little bit easier, words are slipping out, and all of a sudden you're like, I love you, you marry me. And they're like, what? You're like, marry me. You're like, I love you. And that probably takes us into one of the other numbers on the list. But so the drunk proposal, I think, is fine. I did meet a couple who I worked with them years ago, and I messaged this guy on Facebook, and it was probably as weird as I think it was, because out of the blue, I was like, hey, can you tell me the story about how you and Elise got together again? And he was like, sure, guy that I haven't spoken to in like 6 years. But because I vaguely remember it, that they were these two. He's
doing a diss list of weirdest friendships, and that is
weirdest friendships.
Cayonne's going to be on there.
This is why I don't have friends. And so I used to spend a lot of time with these guys, and they're both very, very healthy now. They're into hiking and stuff. But at the time, we were all working in restaurants, and these two used to drink a lot. And then one day, they were just engaged. And so one day while he was drinking at the restaurant on shift, I asked him what happened. And they were blackout drunk on some random guy's boat that they didn't know. And that's how the proposal happened. And you fast forward to now, he is not with her. She lives on some small island commune, and he is married to somebody else. And the drunk proposal didn't work out. And so, although, again, nobody's really harmed in this one, and it takes 2 to tango. I guess they were both schmammered.
Yeah.
It's not, there's nothing pretty about it. And the reason I say it's happening right now, it's like, look, this is the epitome of what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, except it doesn't stay in Vegas. It comes home, and then your entire family have to pretend like it's reasonable until one day, the bingo card checks off, and you're like, it didn't work out. Who won?
This is a tough one because I do feel like the not acceptance rate, but the it going well. The success rate. The success rate must be pretty low, even to get to wedding itself. I think a lot of this might happen, and then you wake up the next day and you're like, I didn't really mean that. You didn't really mean that either, right? Or, you know, the other one person, the asker is drunk and the askee is not, and they're like, stop it. You're literally go home, you're drunk. So I don't know how high the success rate is on this one.
You mean success rate as in getting to the
getting to wedding and getting into marriage. Yeah.
I have no idea.
I think it's a lot. I think this one out of the 3 so far is the most likely to not be legit, if you know what I mean. Like you wake up the next day and you'll be like, I made a mistake. You know?
I think the thing is that there's a few different permutations of what happens after a drunk proposal. Like most of them don't end in like any sort of marriage. Like I like they don't end. You know, you wake up the next day, you're like, what happened? Nah, no kidding. Unless you're in Vegas.
Yeah.
And you're drunk in Vegas and it's like
and you go ahead
and then
you
go and get married. And that's like a different list altogether. Yeah. I think either
top 10 worst marriages.
You know, I just when I think of worst proposals, I think of the plan. The first 2 that you mentioned,
this is deeply unplanned.
A lot of plan. This is, you know what? I'm going to say exactly what I think, and this seems like a good idea at the time. It is. There's nothing planned about this. Now, if your plan is to get wasted and propose, then that is the worst. That's one. That's number one. If you're like, how should I propose? Number one, I get wasted, I think, and then we'll see what happens from there. Then that deserves to be on this list. But just the idea of we got drunk and then he said, "Hey, marry me." That is, to me, I don't know. There's no plan. That just happens.
Feels unlikely.
Yeah.
The only place for me that I think is interesting is the people who drink for sport who do this, because I actually think they're the ones who wake up the next morning. And like the shame spiral is big enough that they don't want to be the one who wasn't like, what are you serious about? If you're serious about drinking and you get the proposal, the next day you're like, I meant it. I meant you double down.
That's
you
the
double
worst.
Down hard.
I was drunk, but I'm not that drunk.
No. I could drink. I just no. I only had a couple beers. Are you kidding me?
I love you. Like yeah.
I could stop tonight.
But I can see the both sides of it. Like, and that's what I'm saying. It's happening right now. Like there's gotta be a few people that are schmamming. It's like, I love you too. Let's get married. Let's do it. And then, you know,
I see that.
And sometimes that's just a vehicle for the next part of their night.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, let's do number 7. Good list so
far.
far. Really
great list so far.
Thank you. I do my research. So most of these proposals follow the very patriarchal model of man proposes to woman.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, well, that's not how it goes all the time.
Correct.
So what's the worst version of the other side? And I found one that I really liked. The pregnancy test proposal.
Oh no!
I have found a few online now where the proposal is written on the pregnancy test.
Dear God!
So
I'm pregnant, and will you marry me?
Is the pregnancy test real?
Positive. Yep, it's real. It's positive. So it is it's not just we're having a baby, but like you flip it over and it's like marry me.
This might be one.
And I just, there's something about it that I just think is so unhinged that I love. I love it because, you know, you talk about a rock and a hard place. It's the ultimate double down.
That's exactly
right?
What it is. Yeah.
You know, you say, hey, person that I'm sleeping with, maybe they're together, maybe they're not. I don't get that information from the photo, but I'm going to assume that they were like, they're a will they, won't they? You know, it's a Ross and Rachel. We're not there yet. And then the test is revealed and it's like, hey, we're bringing life into the world together. We have some bigger things to discuss. And then you flip it over and you're like, with that in mind, here's the only way that this can happen.
Can you imagine the double haymaker that is, we're pregnant, and while you're processing that, would you marry me?
It's hard because on one hand, I those 2 days, proposal day and finding out that you're pregnant day, are 2 of the most overwhelming days.
Absolutely.
For a person.
Just do it in one.
So if you do it in one, you knock it out in one day, it's not a bad philosophy. It's a
What?
bad. It's,
Oh, I
a,
didn't know
it's a
that.
bad
What?
proposal.
It's a
I didn't
terrible
know that's where you were
philosophy.
going.
Yeah, no, I think
You think it's good to do them both at
instead
one
of having
time?
2 overwhelming days, what if I had 1 super overwhelming?
But they
day?
should be exciting,
day-
overwhelming.
Yes.
Where you totally short circuit, like
Yeah.
like what I would like to see is the reverse angle of the image of how many dudes black out.
Yeah,
Just
I
all.
can't even imagine.
The number's all.
Like, I got to be honest. Like, I feel like I process things pretty well and pretty healthily. If you give me the pregnancy test and then expect me to process a wedding proposal, you're out of your mind. There's
Yes,
no
you
can't do
world.
both.
I'm going to be like, hey, the second one, we're not addressing that right now. Like, we're just not.
But here's what I'll offer also: the wherewithal to have a moment where you can say the second one I can't address, I don't think is shared amongst most people. And so the wind is completely knocked out of your sails on the first one, and then you get hit with this question, and the only thing your brain can process is yes or no, not can we have
that
a conversation around this?
You want to talk about a very overwhelming day? That is the ultimate. What kind of day do you want to have?
Yeah.
Answer. Your yes or no there determines best or worst day of someone's life. Like best or worst by a mile.
Even if you say it with a comma and want to add more words onto it, the other person's probably not hearing it. Like if you're like, no, I think we should, we're done, right? Like that's a problem.
I can't believe
like,
this is a thing.
What if the person who is getting this information was like, I am going to sign off on one of these things.
That would be amazing.
Pick which one.
Decide which one.
That's terrible.
That's so dark.
That's a terrible thing.
I'll just say this. This is.
I can't believe you said that.
I said it.
It's the diss list.
But I will say this. This is as someone getting proposed to, I would then look at the pregnancy test and I would be like, are you only asking this because of that?
Because of this.
There's
exactly.
so much psychologically that's happening here that's not okay.
There's such a big conversation that has to happen. And the 1-2 punch doesn't allow for a conversation on the second question.
I'm trying to think of a world like in the first 3, I thought of a world where I guess I could see it. The only way I could see this is if 2 people who are already cohabitating and they've been trying to get pregnant, even though they're not married, and they just haven't. They both are like, we don't really, marriage isn't for us. And then woman gets pregnant, knows this is her forever partner, and then decides, you know what? I'm going to just go ahead and shoot my shot. I know that we're forever. I may as well see if I've changed my mind about marriage. Maybe he has too. I guess that, or maybe.
Or a subset of that is one or both of them come from families that expect it, even though they themselves don't represent it. And then they go, you know what? Let's do it for Papa.
Or this could be like a same-sex couple with 2 women, and one of them is trying to get pregnant and then gets pregnant, and they've been working on this together. Maybe that would work there. Even then, I think it's too much. There's too many things.
That is a really great day for tax breaks, though.
Yeah, that's a great day for tax. You saved yourself bukus of money in taxes.
So much.
So,
yeah.
There's one thing to think about. None of the other 3 so far.
No, the drunk proposal doesn't
There's
help
no
you
tax
there.
breaks there. Okay, let's do number 6 and let's take a break. How about that?
Okay, so there's a theme with 8, 7, and 6 actually, because I think they showed up on the list in reverse order. But number 6 is a post or during coital proposal.
Oh boy.
The getting busy.
I love this one.
Post
I
coital.
think this one is so weird. And I've only read about it. This I had to like go deep into Reddit to see if I could find something that could corroborate it, because I was like, this can't be real. And there were a few that were real, and most of them, weirdly enough, in the like post-coital proposal, are people who are like, and we've been together for 14 years. So the success rate on Reddit seems high. I remember a friend of mine telling me a story when we were in university, and this was not a wedding, but it gave me I was reminded of this moment because it just gave me insight into like what is happening in people's brains while they're getting busy. Is he was hooking up with somebody that he had known for a little while, but like they weren't really in each other's spheres. And while they were in it, not post, but during, he stopped and said, "Have you ever dreamt about this?" And and it ruined the moment completely, obviously. And those two never spoke again. But I just thought, right, like your brain is not getting a ton of oxygen.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on, and especially if it's early days. We're not talking about old married men here.
Have you ever dreamt of this?
Have you ever? We're
Have you
not
ever
talking
had a
about old married
dream?
men. We're talking about like you're just on the racetrack for one of the first 10 times in your life, and you're going as fast as you can. There is a lot happening,
There's a
and
lot
none of it is in
happening.
your brain.
That's right.
And so the idea of marry me,
Marry
or
me.
I love you in
Yeah.
the middle of
Yeah.
all of that, or post-coital is amazing.
We've
It's
heard
actually like
the
one of
phrase
my favorite.
post-coital more times today than I thought I would the rest of my life.
That's right. It's a really weird Post Malone cover band.
Yeah, post-coital.
Everyone's nude.
Thanks, cousin.
I'll just say, like, on one hand,
Yeah.
it seems like you're getting a little bit caught up in the moment. You know, similar to maybe the drunk posal.
Yeah. Is post getting caught up in the moment? I guess it is.
This is what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
But post-coital's interesting because it's kind of like, how good must it have been?
Uh-huh. And if it's
For-
planned,
for
where
a-
was he hiding the ring?
Yeah, there's no way this is another one. Okay. Man, somehow we made it worse. I can't imagine this being planned. This is up there with like, I'm going to get wasted.
Yeah, I don't.
And we're going to be doing it.
I
and
don't see
then-
any post-coitals involving an actual ring.
Yeah,
no,
that's fair.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a ringless post-coital.
It's a
I did see them live. Really.
Here's how I could imagine it. Here's how I could imagine it. I could imagine two people who are actually connected and actually think they have a future together, but they haven't had that discussion. And in the moment, this person looks over and goes, yeah, you're my person. And they know the timing is wrong. They know it's messy. They know it's ugly, but maybe that's kind of who they are.
Yeah.
And he leans over and he's like, I know this isn't it, but will you marry me?
Mm.
And weirdly, the
That's
romance
beautiful.
of that is fairly high because it's like two people just living in the moment.
Yeah. You know what? I think we're gonna go to break, but my gut is telling me this one's too high as far as
fair enough.
worst proposal ideas.
It's so weird because I don't think I do buy that it happens. And I buy that people say things that are overly emotional or big swings in that moment. I think it's a terrible proposal though.
Terrible.
I think it's awful. I don't think
Terrible.
I don't have a problem with its list placement, but once again,
It's
this
more-
idea that it wasn't planned does kind of factor in for me because
It's more romantic than the previous four,
Totally.
right?
Totally.
You would say that.
Potentially,
could
if
be.
it's done
It
properly,
could be more
there's
romantic
something
than the
to it.
previous four. Yes.
Yeah.
It's still terrible. This is bad.
Yeah.
That's
It all
post-coital.
depends on what the person.
Post-coital.
Post-coital.
That's the thing. Is post-coital.
Post-coital.
That's right.
Let's take a break.
Okay.
Let's come back post break, and we will get 5 through 1 on Antonio's worst proposal ideas here on the Dis List. Dis List with Brandon Dan.
You can sit on
Welcome
down
back,
there.
everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's great to be here.
Woo!
It's great to be here today.
Yeah.
Talking worst proposal ideas with actor, restaurateur, podcaster extraordinaire,
Antonio Cayonne.
Antonio Cayonne. To catch everybody up to speed really quickly, his 10 through 6 worst proposal ideas. We have the multi-phase, we have the medical emergency, we have the drunk posal, we have the pregnancy test, and we have the getting busy. That's where we're at. That brings us to number 5. Antonio,
Okay.
5th worst proposal ideas. What you got?
Number 5 is one that went viral. I want to say it was like the 2010s or the 2015s. It
Yeah.
was everywhere. It wasn't
Okay.
always just a proposal. And for me, personally, it ranks as I think in my stomach, in my gut lining, it's my number 1, but I put it at 5 because there are worst ones. It is the flash mob proposal.
Oh.
And I hate it more than kind of anything I've come across in general. Flash mobs, first of all, flash mobs in general are not my thing. I find them deeply self-indulgent. Sure, maybe there's a version of a flash mob, but maybe the first time a flash mob happened, it was really clever because you're like, how did they all coordinate that? But like, it asks
they do
too
it.
much of me. It requires me to be there, and me, like, as audience, I'm doing so much heavy lifting, and so then when you put it into a proposal, it means that you are enlisting every person that you've ever met to do a thing that they're uncomfortable doing, that they don't want to do. You're making them like consensually non-consensual in some part of your relationship that to me just feels like super duper ick.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is probably videotaped because you're that type of person. It just feels like narcissism at its highest, and I hate it. But I'm putting it at number 5 because I truly do have 4 others that make me weirdly more uncomfortable.
I'm with you on this, Antonio. I hate the very idea. If you tell me flash mob proposal, I actually, and I will say this, if you meet me and talk to me and you dare start with one of these stories, I'm telling you, I actively don't want to hear it. as soon as you say flash mob proposal, I am going to be kind and cordial. I don't want to hear that story.
Would you rather hear about them post-coital?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Post-coital. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Give me all the details.
All the deets. The problem
All right,
here
you
is
heard that.
I don't want either. The problem is that there is a lot of planning in this, and this does work for some people. I think there are some people,
100%.
and so I like 5 here because it honors the fact that this is unequivocally awful, but it also leaves room for the fact that it's an opinion. And I think there's someone out there that wants a flash mob proposal, and there's someone that wants to plan one. And Corey,
if you're in musical theater and like you're part of the cast of Hamilton, please do a flash mob. Do it. It'll be amazing.
That's right.
It'll be amazing. If you've been touring on Broadway, if you guys are in between tour stops and you want to absolutely do it. And you know what? Do it in my home city. I want to watch that because I'm probably not going to get to see Hamilton ever. I want that flash mob. That is a 1 in a gagillion zillion like googleplex chance. But everything else. So one of the things that factors in for me in terms of how much I hate it is, are both people aligned on this? Because what I suspect is that one person is like, yeah, flash mob. And the other one is like, I wouldn't mind a proposal in a library.
How often do 2 flash mob proposal people marry each other?
I don't think it can be high.
What are there, dozens of them out there? There's no way
doing it for their own gratification. Like, I couldn't imagine somebody shy.
That's right.
Building a flash mob for their outgoing partner. And I couldn't imagine somebody shy being proposed to through a flash mob and being like, this is the best day of my life. I'm just going to have triggering anxiety and PTSD for the rest of it. But oh my goodness, this was so wonderful.
It's just no winning here. Bran, what do you think?
I love a flash mob.
Yeah, of course he does.
I knew it.
Of course he does.
I love a flash mob. However, I do understand why it's on this list. And I'll just say this. I think in 2025, the year of our Lord, I would be very confused about a flash mob. I think we are post flash mob by a solid 10 years. Yes. And I think now, if I were to see a flash mob proposal, I would be looking around like
I would walk right through the middle of it.
I didn't know that I didn't know we're doing this again. But there was a time where
they were everywhere.
I even thought about planning a flash mob.
You did.
Amazing.
I just toyed around with it.
Sure.
Not for a proposal.
Just for a flash mob.
Fun, for a fun video.
Yeah. How far did you get?
Not very far.
Yeah. That was it, probably.
I was like, does anyone want to go to the mall and do a flash mob? That was, I just figured we'd figure it out, you know? And I always wanted to do it to like a really...
we'd all get there and the inspiration would hit us.
And I always wanted to do it to like something really weird, like Thunderstruck AC/DC.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
And just like confuse people.
Yeah.
But there was like a nice video I remember seeing of someone doing, it was,
the 1 in a million,
Bruno Mars.
Yes.
Bruno Mars, that's the one that went
Yes.
super viral.
She's like sitting in the
The
car,
car
as it
is
moves,
backing up.
and
It's
they're
terrible.
running
Yeah,
in.
it's awful.
Yeah. I remember it.
I like it. I
hated
like it a lot.
I hate it. I'm with a Cayonne. I hate it.
And all I could do was like, I was watching it and I felt like I was in every single person's psyche. I feel like they were sending me psychic messages about how much they hated it. And they knew that it was on camera and that it was going to go viral and that it was going to be memorialized. And all they could think was, I'm never speaking to this friend again.
Well,
that person, they just lost all their friends.
I think the best way for me to describe it is that usually there's one person in a relationship that's the don't make me sing person. Like, oh my goodness,
exactly.
the spotlight, you want me to tell jokes and be, winking the gun and do blah, blah, blah. And then there's one person who doesn't want any part of that ever. Very rarely do two don't make me sing people marry each other, because then it's this weird thing where you're just like, I guess just trying to out entertain the other one. And so who's the flash mob for? The person asking or the person answering? I'm with you. I hate this.
Yeah, that's what makes it insufferable for me. Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, there's the 1 in a million. Look, 2 castmates from Hamilton.
Yeah.
Do your flash mob. You are the people this was made for.
Yeah.
Everybody else, sit down.
That's
Postcoital, that's for you.
Postcoital, that's for you. That's right.
Let's do number 4.
Medical emergency.
Okay. Number 4 is this one is personal to me.
Here we go.
This is what I did.
Here we go.
And I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know why it was a problem until the moment it was a problem, and it was too late. So for me, this is the out of control proposal. Did we keep the title? Yeah, the out of control stall. So the out of control proposal. I'm going to tell you.
Stall.
I'll tell you what I did, but I'll also tell you the point of view of it. With a planned proposal, the microphone is the ring. So we're leading up to the moment that the ring arrives. And when the ring is there, everything is revealed. Once the ring has been shown, the proposal is done, essentially.
Yeah.
Anybody who shows the ring and then talks for 45 minutes has missed the boat. The conversation is coming up to the moment that this comes, and the microphone is for, therefore, will you marry me?
Yeah.
So if you are not in control of the moment that the ring arrives,
this is my nightmare.
You have screwed up.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that it was my nightmare. So
you weren't in control of the ring.
I was not in control of the ring. So I'll give you my quick story so you can see why I think this is a number 4. It may not be a number 4, but I think it is. I actually think it might be higher. I let's just put it this way. I'm sweating. I have anxiety just remembering the story. We were in Vancouver for the first time on tour, and I knew that I was going to propose only because we were in Vancouver and her parents live here. And I just thought, okay, like, we were never really like marriage people. We didn't really care whether or not we had but we're going to be there, and her parents are old fashioned. I was like, let's just do this. And then we can invite her parents. We'll have dinner together. It'll be nice. And my friend owned a restaurant. So I gave the ring to my friend, and I said, give it to your guy, Dave or whatever, and just tell him to bring it by with dessert.
So this is two guys removed from you.
This is already a second person
This is your buddy's
removed.
buddy.
So I gave it to Anthony, and Anthony gave it to his friend. And I met his friend, and his friend was like, what do you want me to do? And I said, just bring it with dessert. It'll be fine. I was super casual about it. I was like, it's not a big deal. Because in my head, I was like, we already know how this ends. So like, this is fine. And so he goes away, and we go and have our day. And then we go to the restaurant at night. And it still hasn't dawned on me. We're eating. It's nice. I'm starting to get a little bit of anxiety, but I couldn't figure out why. And I was like, this is fine. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
And then the main courses end, and we're in a packed dining room. It's crazy in there. And I realized that I have no idea what's happening next, but I have to say nice things now. I have to say things like together forever. And I didn't make a speech. I was like, guys, I'm going to wing it. I'll figure this out. It'll be fantastic. And my wife was telling a story about a dog or something. The worst story that anyone's ever. And she just wouldn't stop talking. She listens to this podcast. She's heard me say this. She wouldn't shut up about the damn dog. And I couldn't figure out what was happening. So I got up from where I was sitting, and I went and sat on the same side of the table as her. Now we're sitting at a table of 4.
In the middle of a dog story, you went and sat next to her.
In the middle of the dog story, I sat next to her. So now it looks like I'm invested in the dog story. I'm like, But in my head, I'm like, shut up! Stop talking! You're ruining this! And out of the corner of my eye, I see the kitchen open, and I was like, okay, it's gonna be fine. Like, she's gonna stop talking at some point, and he's gonna get here, and then I'm gonna say something, and it's gonna be magic. The magic's just gonna happen. And then he shows up, and the ring is in the dessert, and she's like, and the dog, and then the dessert goes down, and there's a ring in it, and I see it, and she sees it, and then we look up, and then I'm like, I really messed this up. And then I went, So, should I? She's like, don't. I was like, put one knee, and she's like, please don't. And the whole dining room goes silent, and I couldn't figure out why because I'm having a panic attack. And I just went like, so will you? And then she just picked up the ring and put it on. And we didn't really say anything. And then the whole room is like, yeah. And this guy comes over and he's like, champagne. He's like, what'd she say? And I was like, I don't know. And then it turns out that the table next to us were the Vancouver Whitecaps. And they came over and they're like, for the new couple, we got a couple of tickets to our game. And I was mortified. And then her parents walk in and they're like, how was the proposal? And I was like, I want to die.
Oh my
I don't want a
God.
do-over. I want to die right now because this was so dumb. So I'm going to call it the out of control proposal because
You don't have control.
you have no control. And if
None.
you're not in control, then you're going to be stuck with a dog story, and the dog story is never going to end. And then your whole relationship is predicated on a dog story that no one remembers.
I cannot believe the idea of proposing and me not having complete control of every possible machination of what's going
And
to
I'm a
happen
control guy.
is
Why did I do
just insanity. And you gave it to Anthony's friend Dave. That's
His
what
buddy,
you
I
did.
don't even. I
His
wouldn't even
boy
recognize him if he-
Dave.
If his friend walked up to me on the street and punched me in the nose, I wouldn't put two and two together. I have no idea who that guy is.
Oh my
I love that
gosh.
the Whitecaps decided.
The
we know
Whitecaps,
what-
this is the
We
time.
know
Isn't
what they
that-
need.
Here's 2
We know what they
tickets.
need.
What's better
Yeah,
than
and a
a
bottle of champagne.
proposal? 2 tickets to a hockey game.
To a soccer game.
A soccer
Even
game.
worse.
I just assumed it was above
Major League Soccer.
Major League Soccer.
It is fair. I had my
Woof.
my story is somewhat similar, but not as bad of an ending. Like everything actually worked out for me, but having somebody else kind of be the setup person
Oh, no,
is a
never.
stressful thing.
Why?
It's a stressful thing.
Don't
You
do
rely
it.
so much on this other.
And it's not like you're relying on someone you've known your whole life. You're relying on Anthony's boy
Yeah.
Dave.
Yeah.
You know what I
Anthony's
mean?
boy Dave, like unreal.
I was relying on a
Unreal.
good friend.
Okay.
You were relying on
Anthony's boy
Even
Dave.
Anthony's boy Dave.
that, good friends let you down all
I
the
still
time.
wouldn't do
Yeah.
that, but
No.
whatever.
So what happened? So what happened with me though? Like I never let go of the ring.
There it is.
Right. So
That's the
all
key.
that my buddy had to, like, so I did it. I proposed via song. And so my
Don't worry,
buddy,
that's not on the list.
but
It is
not
a
there was no
flash
flash
mob,
mob,
though.
and it was just us.
Yeah.
But somebody
It was Baby by Justin Bieber.
It was Baby by Justin Bieber. No, we
It was 40 background dancers.
I needed my buddy because we weren't in town. We were somewhere else, and I needed my buddy who lived nearby to bring the guitar and have it set up.
Of course.
And so, but I couldn't. There was no way for me to check it ahead
No.
of time.
You had to trust
We had to
that
go
your
to-
boy
I
was
had to-
coming through.
That's exactly right. So
it
it's
was in tune.
it was in tune.
There you
That's
have it.
shocking.
And
That's remarkable.
I'll just say this: it's walking towards that area is the most stressed I've ever been in my life.
For sure.
Because it's like at the end of the day, I
But-
could still show up and I could still just propose like a normal
Exactly.
person.
Yeah.
But
right?
if the guitar's not there, you can still just sing.
That's exactly right. If
If the ring is not there, all I have
yeah.
is the dog
All
story.
you got is a
That's all
dog
you got
story.
is the dog
and a
story.
dessert. That's it.
and like,
And the
you
white
just-
cap tickets.
White
and
Cat.
the white caps.
You didn't have
get to go
those.
to because we were on tour and we were leaving town the very next morning.
There you go.
But also,
The
you have
world
this
tour.
inner monologue, and the inner monologue is doing two things. It's working out. Well, we've been together for a long, long time, and from the first time I met you, and it's also shut up about the dog, shut up about the dog, and then it's also where is the ring? Oh my God, the ring is like 9 feet
Dude.
away, and she's still talking. And then should I say something about her eyes? And then what do I? And then the dog, and like what color was the dog? And it's all jumbled in my head.
I will
Very.
say this. I think this belongs on this list because anyone that gives the ring away
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
someone else before proposing is asking for disaster. Even if
Yeah.
it works, even if your proposal
Even if it
story
works.
has
Yeah.
a happy ending and everybody
ending.
everybody was on their marks, on their cues,
Sure.
did exactly what they're talking about. The degree of difficulty there for something that
Yeah.
you don't need to add difficulty to is just through the roof. I'm with you.
100%.
This is a good one.
Yeah.
That's tough.
It's a good
That's
one.
I
tough.
miscalculated.
Yeah. All right. Number 3.
Okay, number 3 is I have a slash in here. It's a duel because while I was looking up what I thought was the worst, I came across one that was worse. So I'm going to start off with at someone else's wedding.
Yeah,
At someone else's wedding,
this is one.
and it's called the not your moment. And so there's a caveat in here. The not your wedding thing is really big. I don't know what compels people to think that a day that somebody else spent 10, 20, 30, $50,000 and
At least.
30 years dreaming about
That's right.
you
It's
know,
your
they
time.
sort of look around and they're like, I don't know what it is about this room, but it's really magical. The lighting is right, and
That's right.
everyone's dressed up, and then you decide to propose, and it just tramples on somebody else's day. But while I was looking it up, I was looking up wedding proposals. I came across one that I think is even worse, which is where the end is another beginning. Funeral proposals. Funeral proposals are apparently, I mean, I didn't find a million of them, but I found at least 2 or 3 stories that I was like, I think these might be real.
Just go ahead and bury them. Just I don't even want, like, what?
And again, not your moment. Also, whose funeral was it? Right? Like,
Yeah.
why?
Now,
Would it change something if it was someone's funeral that you didn't know versus that you did know?
this isn't good. It doesn't make it better. I think the only way that it works is if like
You're going to tell me a way this works.
No. It doesn't work. But if you have like a mom or a dad who is like very against this relationship, right? And it's been this whole hurdle. When they die,
you go to their graveside.
That's exactly
you stand
right.
on the coffin and propose and say, how you like me now?
That's exactly right.
Tap dance
That's
on
right.
it. You're like, take that, mama.
That's
right.
exactly
Yeah.
right.
I thought you were gonna say that the guitar that your friend set up
That's right.
was at his wedding.
It was at a wedding at an
Oh,
outdoor
yeah.
gazebo. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
That's how you were going.
here's what
I actually was singing a song at a wedding.
That's
and
right.
I said,
and you
well,
said,
let me
hold
just-
on 1 second.
I got one more. I got an encore.
Very Adam Sandler of you.
Here's what I'll say. And if you're listening and got proposed to at a wedding, I'm happy that you're happy.
100%.
This is number one for me because of what you said, Antonio. But I got to be honest. Even if the bride and groom give you permission, I think it's wrong.
I think it's
Even
wrong.
You don't like it. Fundamentally, is not your day. It's not your day.
There's a version of it that I saw that, although I didn't love it, I think it has the possibility to work.
I don't know, man.
I'm just looking-
There's
Can
gonna be,
I just, and I don't know.
you're going to be hard pressed to convince me this isn't number one.
This just came to mind. But what would you say about this one? Okay.
Okay.
All right. Work through me with this one. Okay.
Walk
Walk with me. on
walk
this
with me.
one, Okay. Your
Work with me.
you
Work through me.
Your wife's dead.
Okay.
And you have
That's a big story,
just you're gonna remarry.
Okay.
You found Tutu, and you're like, Tutu, will you marry me?
Tutu.
And you're for some reason, one of your children
This is worse to me.
says, "Hey, I want to propose at your wedding because it's like I don't know."
No.
Okay.
No, absolutely not. I don't
Okay,
know.
here's-
There's so many days in a calendar year.
Yeah.
And you can choose any of them where you're not at a wedding.
Okay, how about this one?
Here's the
Your-
closest version.
How
Here's the
about this one?
closest
Your
version.
your wife dies, and you're at the
Why
funeral.
do you keep killing my wife, man?
Fine, I'll kill my wife. My wife's dead. Okay, and one of my kids decides he wants to propose at the funeral to feel like mom's there.
That
No.
sucks. That's
Guys, I'm just
terrible.
throwing out.
Dramatic.
I'm trying here.
This
Okay.
is ridiculous.
I think that the closest it gets to it being okay is something that Dan just touched on, which is if the bride and groom say it's okay. Now, if the bride and groom say it's okay, and the bride and groom, and it's like the bride's little sister or some nonsense like that, organize that the bouquet toss gets sent over, and I've seen a video of this, which is why it's in my head, gets sent over to the person, and then she turns and the guy proposes. At least then it's within the context of a singular structure that fits in the wedding. And I have to say, at that, I still think it's so
It sucks.
thunder stealing
It's so
that
bad.
it's just gross.
Regardless, impact over intent. Even if your intent is great, the impact here is I care so little about
Exactly.
your spotlight that
Yeah.
I'm doing this now. And there are
Even
people.
the fact that you ask for consent.
That's
is
right.
gross.
We all have friends. We know someone who says it's okay. Everything's okay, even when it's not. Who says,
not true.
yeah, you
Exactly.
can go ahead and do that, even when you
Fine,
can't.
fine.
You can come over. You can blah blah blah, even when you can't.
Yeah.
There are people that just don't like confrontation. I've had to learn this over the years because I just take people at their word. You cannot assume if someone goes, yeah, you can propose at our wedding, that they're telling you the truth.
No.
This is yeah. I can't.
I think the place that it can happen is the brunch the next morning.
Right, yeah, sure. Yeah. Well,
That-
and I still
that
think
is-
that's gray area, but I think you're at least
Sure,
a
but at
day
least
away.
that at least gives you the like all the people are there and you get the
That's
thing
right.
that you probably wanted, which is like a little. But I just
Let me try one more for you. This is
Oh my
another.
God.
This is one more.
Who's dead this time?
One more funeral one.
Yep.
You're the person that you've been in love with for a long time, but you never
Uh-huh.
married, dies.
Okay.
At their funeral, you get up, you get down on your knee, and you put the ring on the casket.
That's not a proposal.
Sure. That's
That
not a
person is
proposal,
dead.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. That's
Okay.
fine.
All right, we found one.
It's not a
You
proposal.
can put anything on the. You
What's
can put
number
anything on the
two?
casket.
What's number two?
All right, what's number two?
Okay. Number two is trending right now within the past 2 years, and it should be number one. I'm going to admit that freely. It's the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. Number one for me is more riddled with anxiety, but number two I think is life ruining.
Oh wow!
It is called the abduction.
Oh my
God.
And if you are trying to wonder right now whether or not this is real or not, Google it, and you will vomit at the state of humanity.
Oh no.
There are all sorts.
Tell me I
and
didn't do that
because
this
it's going
morning.
viral, right? Like social media is the worst thing. There are all sorts of proposals where car cuts off other car, masked men jump out. Sometimes it's as violent as smashing the windows and whatever. Drag one of them, usually the man, because we're idiots. Drag the man out of the car into the other car or the van, the unmarked van. And as the woman is hysterically screaming and sobbing and trying to call 911, the back of the van doors open, and out emerges her soon-to-be husband in a suit with a ring, and he gets down on one knee while she is screaming blue murder and proposes to her. And I have seen not one, not two, but tens of videos like this.
This is wild. I've never heard of this.
Yeah,
I
this is-
guess I have to imagine that this is someone's thing.
Is it though? And again, much like the flash mob, who is it for?
My guess is it's
She's into
someone's thing. I also have a problem thinking this is mainstream at all.
Yeah, I don't
if
think-
you mean it like every like people
Dude,
getting
this is
proposed
underground.
to.
This is an
Yeah,
underground.
People getting proposed to at a wedding, post-coital, drunk. These are things I think. Even giving the ring away. If this is
enough-
happening regularly,
It's enough that it shows up on Google searches as not only user uploaded videos but news articles like
This
Channel
is crazy.
7 in
This is
Idaho.
crazy. This is insane.
This is
unbelievable. There's no precedent for
insane.
this.
This is insane. If like the person that like if you are both like the way that you guys bond is over like true crime or something like
But even then,
is crazy. But that's the only like if you guys are both like we fall asleep every night to the ID channel watching the true crimes.
Good
That's what we
gosh.
do. Maybe. But even then, it's crazy. This reminds me, Dan, of the youth group days when like someone would come in and come to the youth pastor and be like, "Say that you're not a Christian," and the youth pastor would be like, "I'm not going to say that," and they put the bag and they would take the youth pastor off.
A real judgment
And
house.
then-
Yeah,
and
that's
then
how
the
we grew
youth
up.
pastor would walk back out and be like, "See, this happens every day around the world.
That's right.
Are you going to be willing to
Millions.
say
Yeah.
that you still believe when faced with this?"
That's
That's
incredible.
what this is giving me, and it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate it. I
Yeah,
hate
this
it.
is-
there were enough on my Google search that I was like, this can't not be on the list. And listen, this is why I said I know this is number one, and the reason I'm going to say it's number one is because there is no version of this that ends up in marriage. It's just counseling for one, or counseling for two, or
So-
criminal charges.
Weirdly enough, I think I'm not going to spoil my list. I think I'm going to end up moving this down. I think it belongs here because it's a thing.
Yeah.
I
doesn't-
don't see a world where it's a mainstream thing, and I'll Google it as soon as we're done here. But this is crazy.
I think though I can agree with it doesn't tick off enough. This is a real proposal
Yeah,
boxes to feel good. Although I do think that there are real people who are actually proposing like this because we are really, really stupid people. But I would agree with the sentiment that there is a world where this is not an honest enough proposal, as in like, this is my forever person and this is the way that we should do it.
Yeah.
To rank high on the list. I put it as my number one because I just think of
Yeah.
the word worst, and like I can't think of anything worse.
All right, what's your
Except
number
for
one?
I
What's
do-
your
I
actual
do have a
number
real
one?
number one.
Yeah.
My real number one, and this I hope was clarified in my number four, is about anxiety. Now, sorry, we talked about at the beginning that usually when people are getting ready for a proposal, they kind of know what the answer is going to be. I think that there's a caveat to that. It's the number one. It's the grand gesture in public. It's the true public proposal.
I thought we were going to get like jumbotron or something, and you've just put it under one umbrella. Yeah,
it's all one thing.
Here. Yes,
and I have a few different versions of it. I also have a banned area because people who like, I don't know if you know this, but every day people get kicked out of Disneyland and Disney World because they try to do their proposal on the lawn in front of that castle thing, and they get kicked out. I have a friend who hopped over the rope at the Taj Mahal, which I guess he thought was ornamental.
Good gosh.
He went on very sacred grass and he got kicked. I thought he was going to get kicked out of India. Like they were just like, get out, idiot. But the idea of a grand gesture, the jumbotron, just something that is like too big to imagine it being reasonable, is usually partnered with somebody who's actually not sure if the person's going to say yes or no.
Yeah.
And usually it's it's compensation. You're doing a grand gesture as the thing that's going to push all of this relationship over the edge.
Can't say no to a jumbotron.
Can't say no to a jumbotron. And what we know about this is if it is too public, two things happen. One, it's almost always a no. Two, if it's not a no, the other person is usually so uncomfortable that they want to die. And then they eventually do end up saying no because they're like, wow, way to highlight our incompatibility. So for me, the anxiety of a grand gesture and understanding that like I misread every single thing, not just about my relationship, but about the word relationship, puts this at number one for me.
Yeah. I mean, it had to be on the list. This had to be on the list.
No, it's got to be. It's a classic.
Yeah.
This is.
I don't know if it's one, but it's got to be on the list, and I agree with all the reasons you said.
Yeah. It's so deeply anxiety-inducing.
Yeah.
All right, we've got our work cut out for us, Dano.
We do.
We're going to take a break. We're going to come back, and we're going to make some changes to it, and try to create the perfect list. That's on the other side of the break here on
the Diss List. It's the Diss List with Brandon Dan.
Yeah. Man, they're always playing.
Yeah, they just really cool. They know when to close it out. It's unbelievable.
All right, we're talking worst proposals, everybody. It's been a job really well done.
Yeah, Cayonne's
by
brought it
Antonio
today.
Cayonne. We've got the multi-phase at 10, the medical emergency at 9, the drunk posal at 8, pregnancy test at 7, post-coital, the getting busy at number 6, flash mob at 5, which whatever. The out of control, the stall at number 4, the not your moment at 3, fake abduction at 2, and the big game, the big gesture at number 1. We get to make some changes,
That's
Dan.
right.
We get to do 2 straight up replaces, so we can take one of yours away, Antonio, and replace it with a whole nother thing. And then on top of that, we can also do 2 swaps. So if we think one is too high or one is too low, we can fix that, coming up with the ideal list. I have given this a lot of thought, a lot of prayer, and I think I've come up with a pretty darn good list. I'm going to tell you my replaces first, okay? The things that I am introducing into the field here. One is something that I saw that I believe was actually a promposal, but I've seen different variations of it. And I'm calling it the driver. And it takes place in a car. And the one that I remember vividly is this kid who was asking his girlfriend to go to prom by putting signs along the street.
I know the exact video.
And she hates it. She ridicules it. And then she realizes that it was him. And she feels so bad. And there's something about being in a car in this like confined space where it can get, if it doesn't go well,
it's a long drive.
It's a long drive, right? It's not like you're at a restaurant or whatever where you can kind of, I got to go get some air.
And they were in the plains. They were on like a straightaway.
They were in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And so, or like if you're the passenger and the person that's driving, you're going to propose to the person that's driving, a lot can go wrong. So I'm introducing that one. And I'm also going to introduce what I'm calling the X's ring. And this is a tricky one, but occasionally a proposal will not go well. Okay. And
You'll keep the ring and
you'll
do it
keep
again.
the ring and you'll
yeah.
reuse it.
Interesting.
And
Interesting.
I don't know. To me, I think it's. I don't think you should do that. I think
If nobody else ever accepted the ring, even.
I just think I don't know. I don't know. But I've seen this. I don't feel like it ever goes well. And so there are two that I am introducing. And so my list is as follows. I'm putting the driver in at number 10, and then I'm swapping number 9 and what was it on your list?
Number 4.
Number 4, yes. So number 9 is now the out of control stall, and I moved with the medical emergency up to number 4, just for the craziness of a medical emergency. It just is insane to me and a really, really bad idea. The out of control feels like at the end of the day, you know, it's not that awful. And then I'm also. And and then I'm swapping number 6 and number 5. I'm sorry, number 6 and number 8. And so post-coital will be number 8. And then the X's ring I put in at number 6. And so that gives us the driver at 10, the out-of-control stall at 9, the post-coital at 6, pregnancy test at 7, X's ring at 6, flash mob 5. Medical emergency 4, and then 3 through 1 is the exact same. I didn't touch it because I thought it was perfect. So that's where I'm at. Thoughts on my additions?
My one question with the X's ring is, who knows that it's the X's ring?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways around that one. I think if it's very public and she knows it and you do it ananyway, that's really, really bad.
Yeah.
Like if you propose
or
to
if
her
it comes
sister,
or if it comes out later.
Yeah.
Like if she starts asking about the ring, like, oh, where, like, what is this ring?
I just
or whatever.
think that in the moment of the proposal, there's no way to know that the ring's been used. Like there's no mileage button on it. And so for me, I look at that one and I'm like,
yeah.
If it's public knowledge, it's gross. And it's also just gross in general as an individual, I think. But privately,
what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
The driver one, I haven't seen it as a
Absolutely.
proposal. I've seen it as a promposal, but hadn't even thought of it.
That's a great one. Yeah.
Absolutely. And 10 might be too low.
Yeah. All right. I got 2 that I'm going to bring to you, Antonio. Okay. Number 1 is hot air balloon. I think as soon as I saw Worst Proposals and saw you were doing it, the first thing that came to my mind was hot air balloon. For a number of reasons we've covered on this show. We did a show called Yo Gavel Gavel, and the ring, he's suing because the wind hit the balloon and the ring fell out and they couldn't find it. But also, what's less romantic than you, the person you're proposing to, and one hot air balloon operator who is just there operating the giant flame to keep the balloon afloat. It's not a grand gesture. It's technically private. It's you, your significant other, and one random dude, Anthony's boy Dave, operating the hot air balloon. So much could go wrong. So much awkward. So much cringe. That has to be on my list. And
Dave's moved up in the world.
And then
unless it's like your grandfather.
Yeah, that'd be something. I guess you could. There's a way around it. And then the second one. This is a big one, and you kind of talked about it in yours a little bit, but you didn't say the ring. You said the ring was with the dessert, not in the dessert.
I think it was in the dessert.
Wow. So that is,
I think it was.
The one I want to put on this list is ring inside food or drink. So either bottom of champagne glass or like, hey, we got this piece of cake. Let's cut it down the middle.
A lot of people do that.
The like somebody's biting into something and they bite a ring.
Ours was he had like wrapped it in tinfoil and tucked it into the top, so it looked like almost like a praline sticking out, but it was very evident there was a ring.
Okay,
so because if it was dirty, if the ring was like covered in chocolate, I would have
it's
lost
disgusting.
my mind.
That's what I'm talking about. Is like what's better than giving someone a ring that's just covered in chocolate or dipped in champagne or whatever else. I'm not going to drink the champagne or wear the ring. Like everything about that doesn't work. Yeah. So those are my 2. I think that they need to be on this list. Here's what my list looks like. I took out multi-phase and did a straight replace with hot air balloon. So because I think multi-phase could work and hot air balloon I don't think could work. So number 10, multi-phase is out, hot air balloon is in. Number 9, medical emergency. It's fine there. Number 8, I moved the abduction down because of just the lack of it happening.
Wow.
I agree that it is a thing that I can't believe happens, but it is. I moved it down because it's just, in my opinion, still niche to the point that I don't know if I want to talk about it anymore. So I moved that one all the way down, and I moved up. What was at 8 was drunk, but I replaced it with ring in the food or drink. So ring in the food or drink is going to be 2, which I think for me is where it belongs. 7, pregnancy test. 6, post-coital. 5, flash mob. 4, gave the ring away. I moved 2, public grand gesture, down to 3. I moved at someone's wedding to 1, which to me is the worst. Number 2 is ring in the food or drink. That's my list.
All right.
That's my list.
2 great lists, guys.
All right, Antonio, it's all you got to do now.
You gotta pick whose list is better. Your boy
That's it.
Brand,
And then the disc list is done.
bringing in the driver and the X's ring. Dan,
I really
bringing in
like the driver. I really like the hot air balloon and the ring in food. I think out of the 2 lists, I'm toggling through them.
He's toggling.
I gotta go with Dan's list.
Yeah. Yeah.
Largely because I'm stuck on the X's
The X's ring is a tough one.
Something
I
that I
get
can
how it could be
solve.
bad though.
Okay.
I get both
like,
of the sides of that.
Even with Dan's list, I almost would, if I were going to edit it, like the food and drink and the hot air balloon, I would reverse because now I'm thinking of the hot air balloon.
It's terrible.
Hot air balloon's awful.
Dude, it's so
I
bad.
just keep running through. I'm like, okay, so what if the attendant is really young? Does that make it better? Okay, what if he's like old and he's
But,
only
like,
doing this? Like, there's just no version of it.
There's a Hallmark movie version where the grandfather or the grandmother ran a hot air balloon stand and it's her ring. Like there is a world, but most worlds don't include you knowing the person running the hot air balloon. And then that's a big problem. Yeah.
It freaks me out.
Yeah. Dude.
What
a
Dan,
list.
you did it again.
Congratulations.
You did it again.
to
Congratulations
me.
to
Thank
you.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Antonio Cayonne. A wonderful list.
Thank you.
Some really great options there. And head on over to our social media and let us know your thoughts, maybe what we missed, what we could have, should have included. We'd love to hear from you.
That's at the disc.
Get everyone to tell
at
us
the
their
disc list.
proposal stories so we can rate them.
Antonio will come back to rank people's actual proposal stories. That's exactly right. It was so much fun, buddy. We'll do it again sometime. Until next time, spin the disc list.
It's the disc list with Brandon Day. It's the disc list with Brandon Day.